Okay. Why does the video get bigger when I put it into record mode? I'd like someone to explain that to me. I look in the viewfinder, it's this big. When I hit record, it goes. Therefore, I'm not really seeing anything that's on the periphery of what I was originally looking at, some of which might be worthwhile to share with others. Alright, let's see. What are we doing? Uh-oh. I don't have my coffee yet. There can be no creativity without caffeine. Alright, Velvet Doberman here. I'm probably not quite in frame unless I do some funny business. Hi! Welcome aboard. You can probably see just the lower part of my face. Alright, why do I have this set up in this attitude? I should say attitude being a double entendre. We already talked about how the house is attached, how it was. This is very nicely made and quite pretty, actually. Well fabricated, the plastic is extruded well, and how many things they actually forgot for their $44 or whatever it cost. I had to vouchsafe the cage door, which I would think would be one of the very first things to do in a product that you're selling to mice owners, right? Another thing would be to let them know, this is after some research that my wife did this morning. I haven't had any of this yet. Dark roast. That although I knew that this distance here between the tines is a little wider than the green cages, and I can intercut one intercut. It seemed like just more than adequately spaced, or I should say minus adequately spaced, to keep the size of the mice that we have from coming through the rye, catcher or otherwise. And yet we had Paco, somehow between hours of me putting my head on the pillow and sitting down on the couch for 30 minutes, absolutely aghast, disappointed, almost in tears, because of all the work and also because of the fact that these mice were so happy. I know this is a repetitive old Veldo here's all wound up. This has been repeated over and over again in these video clips, which of course will be boiled down to only the most important things. Getting back to this, alright, so we talked about the house, we talked about the ladders, we didn't talk about the ladders. These ladders are actually pretty well designed. We talked about what appears to be powder coating. Yes, so they're doing some things right. Except when it comes to the things that are important, they drop the ball. Such as that. And we've been through all this, so there's a close-up of how this works. I had to do that. That makes me a beta tester. That makes me something other than a customer. That makes me a designer. That makes me part and parcel of the profit chain. So where's my check? Where's my PayPal dividend? I haven't seen it yet. Now, this is the back. One of the things that really caught my eye about this cage, compared to many of the other ones, is it has this pull-out tray. Well, I like the idea of there being a bare bottom because we have this fluff, which you can see now has been contaminated with mostly food. These are pieces of food, especially the peas. I had put some peas in a little treat dish up here, down there somewhere, and they got nibbled on and then dropped through the cracks. So the reason for this clip is it took a while to take this fluff and carefully spread it into shape so that it would not happen when I slide this in that it gets caught on the lip and then pulled back and basically knocked out of position. So why am I doing this? Why am I talking about something as mundane as fluff in the bottom of a pull-out tray? Because this is just one more, and I will enumerate these before I put this together as a finished video odyssey. I like that, VO, video odyssey. Too easy to confuse with voice over. I'm kind of tripping over my words here because I want to finish this up as quickly as possible, rather than have this be something that occupies all of my Sunday. Hope you don't mind. So, obviously the point being that it took some time to do this, right? It took some time to put the cage together because it comes flat packed. It took some time to try to find things. Oh, for example, the water bottle. I don't have it here, but because these are vertical bars, water bottle doesn't sit exactly right. So I had to put the clip here, water bottle snout too high, really, although it turns out that these mice are so agile. Lucky in particular can jump right on the, we'll call it snout, and then turn upside down and drink that way. Very cute. Then there's this that I built going back to the very beginning of this entire, what's the term for it? I guess odyssey is really the only word that will work. So I had to figure out a way of putting that in there so that the mice could get to the tip of the water bottle, which I then found out was unnecessary. So there's that. There's reapportioning the way this thing sets up, so there's think time involved, which is important, quote unquote, think time. So all of these things together, when they're enumerated and laundry listed, occupy quite a bit of time. I mean, there were the rubber feet on the upper wheel. There's this, well actually this needs to be thrown away now, because this case needs to go back to the manufacturer for not one, not two, but quadruple my money back, for obvious reasons. Those of you in Southern California might have seen a commercial for a very well-known bank. I should have my face stuck in the frame for this, huh? Well-known bank. I forget whether it was Crocker or B of A or whether it was Bank of Poland, Bank of Antarctica, something, where they had an advertisement on the radio, on KFI as a matter of fact, more stimulating talk radio on KFI saying, and this was a rather ubiquitous media buy, which means run, frequency of commercials run on the air. And it says, essentially, hey, we're people oriented. If we mess up your account, we'll send you $10. Ha! Oh, whoopee! $10, right? 10 bleeping dollars for having all of my checks bounced, having to call all those people with the clock going tick, 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 tickety, tickety, tock, and all of that stuff that goes downstream, and the stuff that those nodes have going downstream from them. You see, do you see why it is that people are a little frustrated and don't really know it? Most of us don't know what's boiling away just under the surface. Do you think that might have something to do with why there are folks that go out and purchase a sidearm and start pop, 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 blowing people away? I don't know. I'm sure there are a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists would say, oh, you're full of it, Big D, or in this case, Paladin, or Veldob. Call me what you want. Use your heads. Velvet Doberman out. Really out. Out of patience. This just happened to be the last straw. It could have been about my credit cards. It could have been about golly knows what. It just happened to be that these are precious little creatures that we don't want to kill with traps that go snap, or asphyxiate them, or electrocute them. We don't do that around here, and we recommend that you don't either, nor consider it, and maybe even evangelize what was just said, that's up to you. But that's not our bailiwick. That's not our wheelhouse. There's a good one. Where did that come from? That's not in his wheelhouse. What, does he keep guitars in his wheelhouse? This is from American Idol and The Voice. Not in my wheelhouse. Hey, do you think this is entertaining enough to be on TV? Certainly would entertain me. How about you? Yeah, so we don't kill little creatures. What we do is we make houses for them. Turn them into little projects. Turn them into a fun mouse. There's a website called Fun Mouse, by the way. Recommend it. And the net result is, after all of this effort, all of these little pieces of the puzzle that add up to time invested and so on and so forth, disappointment. Out through the bars. Oh, and one final thing. I realize there's kind of no end to this, but do you think this company would lose business or possibly gain loyalty by simply telling the bleeping truth, which is, if your mice are, say arbitrarily, I don't really know where the tipping point might be, less than 2.5 inches long and not including tail, you might want to look for our other offering, which is for miniature mice. Now, our mice are not miniature mice. There are mice that are miniature like that. That's miniature. You see, what you do is you tell them the truth. You tell them the mucking truth. There ain't no G on that word. I'd like to thank my good buddy Glenn Moorshower for pointing that out. Feels good sometimes to get that kind of emphasis, that mucking that and mucking this, and there ain't no G on that word. I used to spell it W-E-R-D. There ain't no G on T-H-E-T, W-E-R-D. Maybe that should be the very first television station that I appear on. W-E-R-D in Burbank, California, folks. Now, do you suppose this is television worthy? I think so. I think, as a matter of fact, because there's been some debate for some time about, well, who would sponsor this Velvet Doberman Show on primetime TV on Fox or NBC? Doubtful that companies would want to sponsor a show that could have them on the rotisserie in the very following week, or that they could be crucified by, the host of which. In other words, there's Kramer on his desk, at each and every moment on the verge of a cerebral hemorrhage. Well, it's my contention, cats and jammers, guys and girls, that there would be more money made by the controversy this kind of thing would generate than that they would lose in case they got sued. And since it's all about the folding green, show me the money! Which way do you think they're going to swing? I ask you. And if you happen to be a producer, I ask you, which way is it going to swing? They're going to go where the controversy is. Otherwise, you wouldn't find KFI #1 in all of the Arbitron ratings for Southern California, and maybe farther. I don't exactly know whether they're Clear Channel or not. It doesn't matter. #1, more listeners than music, more listeners than country and western, which is, of course, music, too. As a matter of fact, sometimes more music than, we won't mention some of those other forms. Yeah? People love controversy. They love, forgive the term, masturbating their egos, their opinionation structures. They love it. I think that's probably right next to the sexual or contextual urge. Okay, bleep that. You see where I'm going with this? Something needs to be done. Something can be done. Someone needs to do it. Here's someone who's willing to do it, that can do it. And will people fall in line behind? Will it make it onto TMZ and those other pulp, well, I will say Pulp Fiction dinner time programs? You betcha. They certainly will, because it's something to wag your tongue about. So, riffing. I guess what I said to my wife earlier still applies. I went on what was probably a 40-minute rant describing what happened between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. that has been memorialized in these video clips and will ultimately become somewhat of a small documentary, a short YouTube documentary probably, identifying Veldob issues. And I wrapped it up. I was almost at the point of saying over and out, which is my typical want. And I realized, oh, what a goose I am. I should have recorded this. This would be proof positive, even if it were only an audio recording, that the Velvet Doberman can talk up a storm, even if the lights on the phone aren't flashing. Because that's something I wondered about for a long time. Well, ain't no doubt. Sure ain't no doubt. Keep open mind. Let it all hang out. And our thanks go out to the hombres that had one hit. Hanging from a pine tree by my knees. Sun shining through the shade. Eating a Reuben sandwich with sauerkraut. Sorry about that. Let it all hang out. Speaking of out, as I said a few moments before, oh boy, I hope I'm in frame for this. Velvet Doberman out. Out of steam, out of patience, hopefully not out of luck.